One of the first things we did was to take 12-inch wide, 4-inch thick white ash to make the axle caps for both the front and the rear axles. Both the front and rear axles have an 1.5-inch drop cut into their centers. So we're going to take these and transfer them over to the axle caps. Each axle is a little bit different, so we make a pattern off of each axle and then transfer that over to the block that is going to fit each axle for the axle cap. We have the whole wagon blueprinted, so we'll take the blueprints for the axle caps, take their measurements, transfer them over to the block that's going to become the axle cap, and you can see the pattern on the bottom that's going to match the axle. So after these axle caps are fitted to the axle, one of the first things we need to do is cut the mortise hole through the center that is going to receive the reach. Now, the reach is the piece of wood that's going to extend from the back axle to the front axle. And this goes through the center of the front axle. These axle caps are 4 inches thick, so we need to go halfway to meet in the center. We've already done the other side. What you're watching here is the second side. We're taking our hollow chisel mortiser and going around the perimeter where the hole needs to be to receive the reach. You can see the lines on the block there that we're following. This table is built on a milling machine table, so it goes vertical or horizontal and perpendicular to the bit. So we're just moving the table around to follow the line. There you can see it a little bit clearer. So this is meeting in the center, and when we get all the way through, this block will be loose and we can just pry it out and we'll have our hole where the reach will go. The reach goes underneath the back axle, but it comes through the front axle cap. And when this front axle turns extreme right, extreme left, these corners have to be taken off so that they don't bind or interfere with the reach. So we can take our hollow chisel mortiser, we set it at a 45 degrees, and we're going to take off all 4 corners of this large mortise where the reach is going to come through. So that's what we're doing here, is just taking it off to a 45 degree. And again, we've taken measurements off the original wagons to know how big this taper needs to be. So here you'll see the end result. All 4 corners on both sides have been 45'd off. So through the center of this front axle assembly will be a kingpin that holds everything together. Well, this kingpin has to go through the front axle. So we're drilling a pilot hole first, and then we'll drill a secondary hole that will actually take the tip of this kingpin. It's an 1.5-inch kingpin, and then it's reduced down in size where it goes through the axle. So we don't want to cut too big of a hole in the axle to weaken the axle, and that's how these holes are done. So when the kingpin comes through the axle cap, we have to put an 1.5-inch hole right through the center of the hole we cut for the reach. And we're going to cut an 1.5-inch hole right through the center. Again, we're 11.5 inches deep, so we can't go clear through, so we're going to do the bottom side. We've got the flat square top down on the table, keeping it square. We're going to drill actually from the bottom up. And then we're going to take and turn this over. Well, we have a curved bottom, so what we did here, you can see underneath, we put the axle there, fit the axle cap on the axle, which keeps the axle cap perpendicular where it needs to be, and we'll drill the top part of the hole where the kingpin is. Now, since we've got the 1.5-inch bit, there's a bolster that goes on top of the front axle that actually carries the wagon box itself, and it also receives the kingpin. So while we've got this drill set up, we're going to drill an 1.5-inch hole through the top bolster. So this kingpin will go through the bolster, through the axle cap, through the reach, and through the axle. And that will be the hinge for the front axle. All I'm doing here is clearing out the center, make sure we have a straight shot that we connected squarely in the center. So then we need to make what's called the hounds. We have two sets of hounds on this wagon. The one on the left is an axle hound. The one on the right is the reach hound. The axle hound goes on the front axle, and this is what stabilizes the front axle and also attaches the tongue to the front axle. So after we've got this patterned out according to our measurements, we take our patterns. We just made out a large piece of cardboard, and we're going to transfer these over to 4-inch thick, again, white ash beams that we'll saw the reaches out of. Cardboard isn't real accurate, so we go back through and make sure everything is clean and straight. We're going to check our curves, make sure we don't have any irregularities in it that would tend to follow on the bandsaw when we're sawing these out. So we're just double checking all our marks and make sure they're clean. Next we go to the bandsaw itself and start sawing these out. They're fairly large pieces of timber, so it takes quite a little bit of wrestling around to get these sawn out. Now since we're doing two wagons, we have 4 front axle hounds and we have 4 reach hounds for the rear axle. So we're actually cutting out 8 different pieces of timber, 4 for the front, 4 for the rear. And here you can see we have all 8 pieces cut out. We'll take our time and we'll go through and file and sand and clean them up. Then we go back to our blueprints and we're going to actually set these up on the floor exactly to the measurements they need to be when they're on the wagon. Here again we have all the blueprints with their measurements where they need to be. We're going to take the axle cap, set it in position where the axle is going to be, and then transfer those angles from the reach or from the axle hounds up onto the axle cap. And we know what angle needs to be cut out for these. These also receive a large square hole because these axle hounds go through this axle cap. Again, we have to do this from both sides. This again is the second side. We have our mortising machine set at the angle that's necessary to receive these so that all our measurements are correct, both for the tongue and for the rear stabilizer bar. You can see this milling machine table is very handy for making these square, straight corners. We get down to the last little bit. This block also can be pried out, and these will be where the axle hounds will fit to. Now the axle hounds that receives the tongue are wrapped in 1/4-inch thick by 4-inch wide flat steel. So we've taken and made these steel pieces to match the curvature of the axle hounds. So as we take and start to fit these axle hounds into the axle cap, we're going to take and fit the steel to the axle hounds also. You can see the first one has been done. We're working on the second one here now. These all take 1/2-inch bolts. So I'm taking a long 1/2-inch bit and drilling through. What I do is I go halfway. I have lines marked on the top that allow me to find the right angle. I go halfway through from each side until I connect in the middle, and we have a straight continuous hole that the bolts will go through. So after these are all bolted up, I also need to take and drill out the hole where what is called the queen bolt will go. The queen bolt is what actually will keep the tongue in place when it's in use. So again, I go halfway, I have my holes and I have my mark, and I meet in the middle. And make sure we have a clean straight hole that the queen bolt will fit through. So now that all that is bolted and the holes are drilled, then I go through and do the finishing touches to make sure these axle hounds fit correctly into the axle cap and all have the right taper, the right angles, and of course the right fit. I pull them into place and take them up to where they're tight, double check all my measurements. This one actually was a little tight, so I had to back it back out, do a little more adjusting. So it will fit back in the position that it needs to be. Again, take pipe clamps. We're going to draw it into place. And again, we have pencil marks where these are supposed to be, so we know that they're in the right position. So they're in the position they need to be. I'm going to take and double check, make sure the distance on the back where the stabilizer bar is going to be is correct. The front has a taper also. I'm going to double check that for the tongue. And these turned out to be just right. So this is how the front axle assembly looks and is ready for the rest of the finish ironwork. Thanks for watching.